Hello. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. If you don't know me and you're stumbling across me for the first time, I'm Lauren Lefkowitz, executive coach. And I believe fine is a trap. Fine is the thing that we say we are when we're self soothing, when things aren't going well. But if we say we're fine, then maybe we will be. And I don't think anybody should say they're fine. I don't think anybody should be fine. I think we all came here for freaking amazing. And I help executive and emerging executive women find their versions of amazing. So, welcome to Mindset Shifts and the What Ifs. If you are joining me, come say hi in the chat. I love to know when people are with me, and I'm taking questions, I'm taking thoughts. And if you've never watched this show before, here's how it works. We will spin a wheel to tell us what tonight's topic will be. It's a different topic every week. And I never know what the topic is either, which is very exciting for me. I kind of know like what the 30 topics are that are on my wheel, but we'll see what the surprise is. So let's get started. Let's spin the wheel and see what we come up with tonight. All righty. And if you're with me on Instagram, you won't get to see the wheel because I can't screen share over there, but I will tell you out loud what the topic is. And hooray, ooh, questions to ask a coach. Amazing. Love this topic. Love every topic, right? But where's me? Here I am. I'm back on the main screen. Okay. So I love this topic. We're going to be talking about questions to ask a coach because this topic is something I think that prevents a lot of us from hiring a coach, is that like, we don't know what questions to ask. We don't really know like what it means to hire a coach. We don't really know what kinds of questions are weird or off limits. So we avoid it, right? And we get scared. So let me tell you a couple of things like right off the bat. Thing one, when you set up a call with a coach, some people call it a strategy call. That's what I call it. Some people call it a discovery call. Some people call it a coffee chat. Some people call it a virtual coffee. Some people call it, I don't know, all kinds of different things. That's a sales call. And it's good. You want a sales call because you want to find out what they do, how they might be able to help you, etc. You're generally not just going to get like free advice. And on my strategy calls, I actually, do a combination of seeing where I can help in like very short spurts and also telling you how I work with clients. So that's thing one. If you are setting up a strategy call, discovery call, a let's chat, a virtual coffee, that is so that you can find out what kinds of programs this coach that you want to talk to offers. And so that's thing one. The second thing is every coach has a different approach. So some coaches will have you talk to a salesperson first. Some coaches will talk to you directly. Some coaches will talk to you about group programs and individual programs and all kinds of different things that they do. Some do one-off calls, some only do programs. And so that's your opportunity to like find out what do they do, how do they do it, what's their methodology, what does it cost, right? That's an important one. And to really get that opportunity to find out, like, do you connect, right? There are some times when you see somebody's online presence and you don't really connect to them. And there are other times where you see their online presence, you feel like you super connect to them. And then you get on a call with them and you're like, no, I want the person that shows me all the videos. I don't want the person who gets on this call and is like this different way with me. So those are sort of like a couple of things to think about at the beginning. But what should you be thinking about when you're hiring a coach? The first thing you should be thinking about is, what do you want? Right? The answer can be, you don't know. The answer can be, I have no idea what I want. but I know I don't want X, Y, and Z anymore. Great start. Great start. And a good coach can help you during that strategy discovery call figure out where you want to head towards. You're not going to get the whole solution in one call, but they can help you figure out what you want to head towards. And they can tell you what they do, and you can see like if that resonates. You get to ask kind of whatever you want. There's almost nothing off limits. It is pretty normal for coaches to not be publishing their prices. It's kind of like when you work with a marketing agency or an ad agency or anything that's like a longer term kind of thing. If you called an ad agency and you said, I want 6 commercials, and they said, great, that's $500,000. You'd have no idea what $500,000 covers. Coaches don't charge you $500,000, by the way. But you'd have no idea what a coach or what that $500,000 is going to give you. If they tell you that $500,000 includes a guarantee of some kind of return or your money back, includes, 6 2.5-minute commercials that can be broken out into 30-second segments, that they'll get you on the Super Bowl, that, whatever, right? This is just sort of like a wacky example. Well, then your $500,000 starts to come into focus and you start to see what that covers, right? So every coach works a little bit differently. You want to know how they work, right? And if you're just joining us, we're talking about what kinds of questions to ask a coach if you're interested in building a coaching relationship and paying a coach to work with you. So you get to ask, like, how do you work? Do we do one-off sessions? Do I schedule as I need? Is there a long-term commitment? Like, how does that all work? And every coach works a little bit differently. Some of them do part group work and part individual work. Some of them do all individual work. Some of them do all individual work, but they have Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups where you can, get in with people. There's sort of everything, right? So there are coaches who do one-off. I don't find that particularly effective. I think it's effective if you need to make like one short-term decision and you just need somebody to sort of brainstorm it with you and help you ask yourself the right questions. But if you're actually looking for long-term sustainable change, my feeling is that a one-off session is like a motivational speech. Have you ever gone to a motivational speech and you come out of there and you're like, yes, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. That was the best speech I've ever gone to. That just changed my mindset completely. And then you wake up the next morning, you completely forget about it. That's how I personally feel about one-off coaching sessions. So when I work with clients, I'm working with them for a much longer time because I want them, when they do walk away from our relationship, to feel like they have had a really in-depth look at themselves and they've made some really deliberate decisions for themselves. Another question that you get to ask is, what are your qualifications? And if you feel icky asking it in that way, you can say, what's your background? How did you get into coaching? Have you got any certifications? How did you learn your own methodology? And you will hear all kinds of things. Coaching is, fortunately or unfortunately, an unregulated industry. And so there are people who are more consultants, and I'll talk about coaching versus consulting versus therapy in a minute, but there are people who are calling themselves coaches who are really consultants. There are people who are calling themselves coaches who are really trainers. And there are people who call themselves coaches who have tons of certifications, and people who call themselves coaches who have no certifications. I am not going to tell you that any of those people are the wrong people for you, because whatever your priorities are, whatever you want to get out of this relationship, you get to decide if it's going to work for you, right? So Some coaches come in with a curriculum. Some coaches customize their programs for each individual that they work with. Some coaches have group programs and individual programs, and you get to decide what works for you. The next thing that you get to ask, and before I go to the next thing, is when you are looking at a coach's qualifications, however you look at qualifications, you get to ask, like, how did that inform how you built your methodology, right? The sort of red flag to look out for is somebody who, let's say somebody left an IT career and just decided that they wanted to be a coach. If they have had no IT experience, or no coaching experience, just IT experience, no management experience, no experience helping people transform their lives, no education, and they just decided, like, I'm good at this and I'm going to be good at helping other people with this, that's a red flag. You want your coach to have some sort of background that has led them to this, to what they do. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about that you can ask about is how much of what you do is coaching and how much is like other consulting or training or therapy. Big red flag. If your coach says that some of their work is therapy and they are not also a licensed therapist, counselor, social worker, psychologist, which some coaches are, and that's like a really cool combination, I think. I am not, but if your coach, if the coach you're talking to says that they do some therapy or they follow cognitive behavioral therapy philosophies or that they do deep trauma work, for me, that feels like a red flag, unless they are also a licensed therapist, counselor of some kind, because then they have both the regulated licensure and probably the experience to be able to combine coaching and therapy and be able to execute where appropriate. So really be leery, I say, if a coach tells you that they like do some therapy because they've done some like ad hoc work in therapy. When you think about the spectrum of coaching versus therapy and everything in between, I've talked about this in other lives as well. There's a distinction, right? So on the one end of the spectrum, you have therapy. That is not what coaches do. And if you have a coach who's also a therapist, you want to get the distinction of like, when will we be working on coaching stuff? When will we be working on therapy? How will we know what the difference is? Some coaches who are therapists have two separate practices. They do therapy, sometimes through insurance. They do coaching, which is never covered by insurance. So when you go to therapy, you go to therapy because something is very wrong in some respect, and you cannot overcome that thing. It could be a diagnosable something like anxiety, depression, bipolar, ADHD. It could be, right? And I'm not saying that there aren't coaches who specifically work with people who are anxious, people who have ADHD, people who have depression. And that's a perfectly good way to niche down your audience, or niche down your audience if we're being French and fancy, to an audience that maybe relates to you. My own coach is an ADHD business coach. And while I've not officially been diagnosed with ADHD, it is something I'm looking into right now with my own therapist. She's not diagnosing me. My coach is not diagnosing me with ADHD, but because I think I have it, her work really resonates with me. And I have asked her to treat me as someone who has ADHD. And I have also asked her to like slow down for me sometimes, or help me with overwhelm sometimes. And she does that in methods that work for her. And she's done a lot of work in the ADHD arena. She does not do therapy with me. That is not her role. And there are times when she and I discuss something on the coaching side, and I also say I'm bringing that thing to therapy. She's very good at that distinction. So on this one end, you have something that is therapeutic. And sometimes your therapeutic things are not diagnosable. They're grief, they are angst, they are relationship issues, they are challenging decisions, right? But you're going because if you imagine this sort of line or this sort of like spectrum of okay, you are not okay in some area or areas. With coaching all the way at the other end of the spectrum, you may be in this like mushy gap area of okay in some areas of your life and also want to elevate, right? So I have a couple of clients who have been in super toxic work environments that have affected their mental health. They see a therapist for working through the sort of internal healing of what the toxicity has done to them. And they work with me on moving forward from that toxicity. And this mushy area is for the overlap. And we work together when I'm working with those clients on making sure that we're not in the overlap and then going to this therapeutic line, because that's not my area. It's not my specialty. So you want to be asking your potential coach, how do you work? Is any of this work therapy? And if so, like you really do want to know their qualifications for that. And then like there's this whole middle ground of therapy where the therapist is the expert, they're a licensed person, training where you have somebody who is teaching you how to do something because they are trained or certified in doing that thing. You have consulting, which is I know how to do a thing. I'm going to teach you how to do that thing. And I'm going to like launch you so that you can do that thing. And then you have coaching, which is, yes, I'm an expert as a coach. Hopefully they're an expert as a coach. And I've had the training and I maybe I'm certified. I am certified and that was important to me. Nobody ever asks me about my certifications, but it was important to me. The education was important to me and the street cred was important to me. And like what of their work is coaching, is consulting, is training, is therapy. Again, therapy is that red flag. For me, when I work with my clients, mostly coaching, a little bit of consulting, even a bit of like direct training, but I do that sometimes with some of my clients who need that tool, and asking them the more coaching questions isn't getting them to where they want to get because they just don't have the skills or the background to get it. So I call myself mostly coach with a little consulting and a tiny bit of training. And my goal is to help my clients understand how they can be empowered, how they can learn to make their own decisions, how they can listen to my questions and really like hear themselves and spend time with themselves so that they can make shifts. You want to know also, how often do we meet? How do we meet? Do we talk on the phone? Do I need to see you in person? Do we Zoom? Do we Google Meet? And how does that work for you? I had one coach who, when we started working together, only worked by phone. And that worked for me for a while. But every once in a while, I wanted to see her face and I asked her to get on a Zoom with me. My current coach actually prefers to coach by phone, and my attention span doesn't love that. And so now we talk by Zoom because she has the flexibility to either be on Zoom or on the phone. I prefer to coach on Zoom because I like to see my people in person. And, you know, most of my clients aren't local, and driving from Maryland to California or Maryland to Colorado or Maryland to Boston, like that's some big commutes. So we meet by Zoom. And then I also offer on-demand service. So I meet with my clients a few times a month, officially and formally by Zoom, where we're setting up appointments ahead of time. And then my clients also know that they can call on me anytime. They can text me, email me, pick up the phone and call me. Funny little side note, we go like this for phone if we are Gen X or elder millennials, and we go like this for phone if we are younger than that, because the younger generations have grown up on iPhones and Androids and not the actual handled telephones. Anyway, digress. So you want to know, how often will we meet? How will we meet? What if I need you in between calls? It's different than therapy. I wouldn't dare call my therapist in between calls unless I was in like a huge crisis. And then I would be, and I have that agreement with my therapist that if I'm in a huge crisis, she offers a 10-minute crisis call. But I wouldn't use that, right? Coaching is different or can be different. Some coaches are very protective of their time and their clients meet, they meet with their clients on a regimented schedule, and that's okay for a lot of people. Other people want to have access to their coach. My clients have access to me basically all the time. I do have boundaries. I don't answer calls typically between 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. But my clients can text me because I protect my own time. I put my phone on do not disturb when I don't want to be disturbed. And they know that I'll get back to them the next morning, the next day. They know they can email me anytime. I will look at things for them. I will help them formulate ideas and thoughts and edit documents that they want to send to their manager and all of that kind of stuff. Not all coaches do that. Not all clients need that or want that. Then you want to know how much it costs. That's when you want to know how much it costs, because coaches charge anywhere between $75 an hour and $50,000 for 3 months. And that is a wide range. I neither charge that little nor that much. But if we are not having a conversation about what is included, you can't really determine the value of what you're getting. I also have clients who need me for a really long time, and they're willing to commit to a really long time for a better monthly rate than some clients who are like, snap, I got a bunch of stuff to do. I want to do it fast and I want to do it intensely. And that's a different program than the people who are taking their time. And then group programs are typically less expensive than one-on-one, and it's a different dynamic. And so you want to find out if you're looking at a group program, for example, and I'm launching a group program tomorrow, you'll hear about it. But I'm launching a group program, and it's going to be a different dynamic than what I do with my one-on-one clients. So you want to know, like, what are my options? How can I work with you? How much does that cost? What does that look like? Then you get to determine what their offering is and how much you're investing in yourself when you invest in a coaching program or coaching partnership. And then you're going to determine, does that work for you? And the last thing I'll tell you to watch out for in red flags is when you ask for time to think, perfectly reasonable for the coach you're talking to say, yes, let's follow up quickly, right? Because you don't want to be thinking about this for months and months. You don't even want to be thinking about it for weeks and weeks, because your survival mechanisms and your internal voices and your saboteurs are going to tell you don't need or deserve a coach. And that's a whole other topic. But the faster you can make a decision, you've probably already made the decision. You're scared. It's very scary to enroll in coaching and to hire a coach. It's also super worthwhile. But you are going to, you get to make the decision when you're comfortable making the decision. So perfectly reasonable for a coach to say, like, absolutely, let's set up a time now to follow up. Or what are you going to be thinking about? All valid questions. What's not reasonable is for a coach to say it's now or never. For a coach to create false urgency, right? Look, if I only have one spot left in my practice, which is not the case right now, if I only have one spot left in my practice, I might tell you I only have one spot right now. And if you want to hold it, we need to talk in the next day or two, because I've got other people coming in for calls. If that's honest, got it, do it. Honesty is great. If that's not the case, and this coach is creating a false sense of it's a one-time opportunity, and if you don't do it now, the price is going to go up, and if you do it today, I'll take $2,000 off, or whatever it is. If you feel pressured to not get off the phone until you commit, that's a red flag. So you get to ask, can I have some time to think about this? You get to say, these are the things I'm worried about. You get to say, I'm going to be thinking about X, Y, and Z. or I need ideas to help me figure out where to get the money for this, or how to put aside money for this, or how to invest in this, or can I start in 3 months? Can I come back to you? All of those questions are perfectly valid. It's also okay to say, like, can I tell you what's scaring me? I've had people tell me, I'm afraid that if I start working with you, I will start crying and I'll never stop. I'm afraid that if I start working with you and I change my career, I'm going to want to change my whole life and I'm going to blow up everything. I have had people tell me, I'm afraid to be successful. Those are all really normal. And so ask if you can share your deep, dark, big secret. See what kind of reaction you get. And you are never going to feel 100% like, yes, I want to do this and I know I can make all the changes. But you should feel 100% that if you're going to commit to this work, if you are going to commit to working with a coach and working on yourself and your own personal development and your own freaking amazing future, you want to make sure you're doing it with a person you feel comfortable doing it with, and that you're doing it with a coach who has not pressured you into being their client. Doesn't mean they won't sell to you. That's our job, right? My job is to tell you what I do, how much it costs, how long we work together, all of that kind of stuff, and then ask you to work with me, right? But my job is not to say, you're missing out, you're making the wrong decision, you got to do this, one-time chance only, I need an answer by the end of the week. All of that pressure stuff, no, I'm not up for that. If you have other questions about what to ask a potential coach that you might be working with, whether it's me or somebody else, I only want to work with people who resonate with me and who I resonate with. I have had potential clients come to me asking me for things I don't do. I've had potential clients come to me who aren't ready to be coached. I've had potential clients come to me who I think would be better with a coach who specializes in something that they're developing or doing. And I will refer those out or tell people that I think they're not ready for coaching. I'm super honest about that. I also tell people when I'm really excited about them and I really want to work with them. And you should be excited to work with your coach, and your coach should be excited to work with you. So if you've got questions, and whether it's Lauren, I think I want to work with you and I have a bunch of questions, or whether it's Lauren, hey, here's a list of 6 questions I have about coaching or about coaches, send me a DM on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm in all the places. So, go follow me in all the places. I do different stuff on different platforms. And ask me your questions. I am like easy peasy, open book to talk to about this kind of stuff. It doesn't embarrass me. It doesn't offend me. And if you're going to hire a coach, I want you to get the best coach for you, the best opportunity for your success, the best possibilities for your future sustainable, amazing transformation to get the career or the life or the relationship with yourself that you actually want. Whew. I love that. That's what I do. That's why I do what I do, because I love to see the people that I work with freaking thrive, especially when they're coming out of the depths of being in this fine, that's not actually fine life for a really long time, which happens to a lot of us. It happened to me. It happens to my clients before we start working together. Sometimes it happens after they stop working with me and they come back. And that's all amazing. I'm going to leave you with that. I went a little bit long tonight. Thanks for sticking with me if you have. And I will not be back next week because I'm going on vacation. And these days I take my vacations really seriously. So I will be back in 2 weeks on Tuesday at 7:05 p.m. Eastern. And I will see you then. Have a great night, everybody.